Welcome to this edition of Editor's Notebook. My name is Mark O'Keefe. I'm the editorial page editor for the Herald-Standard. With us today is Janine King and Jerica Sneddon from the Fayette County Juvenile Probation Office. And we're here today to talk about the Youth Commission, that program that the Juvenile Probation Agency offers. And it is kind of interesting because going back to its roots, when we were talking about being on the show, the Herald-Standard does have some roots here. Not me, but my predecessor, Mike Ellis, who was editor for the paper back in the 90s. At one point, there was a lot of violence going on in the community, particularly with like some of the housing projects and stuff. So Mike and some other people kind of got together. They thought it would be a good idea maybe to talk to other leaders in the community and just try and see if there's anything that could be done to try and help the problems at the time. And I remember Jerry Andrew, who, of course, Jerry was a long-time director of the Fayette County Juvenile Probation Office, showed up at one of the meetings, and he talked about what he felt that the need was for a lot of kids that were maybe on the borderline, kind of on the fence, like maybe they did something, but you knew they really weren't that bad of a kid or whatever, but maybe they just needed some mentoring or some help there. And also, too, at the time, and I'm sure it's probably still the case, the probation office does not have unlimited amounts of money, and anytime you send kids away to basically reform school or whatever, it costs money. So, you know, is there something maybe a little more cost-effective was the idea. So kind of came up with the idea for this youth commission. And as I remember it, Vince Vicides, who was the Fayette County Commissioner at the time, was very helpful, I think, in trying to get the funding. And Bill Kahn was the first one. So let's talk about the Youth Commission. It's good to know that it's still working. That was probably, when did it start, 96?
It actually started in 96, and we initially had some private funding from some of the local churches until we as an office found a way to actually fund the program. We're associated with the county, but the county doesn't provide any funding for our program. We specifically take care of that in-house, which, as you said earlier, alleviates some of the financial responsibility for the county. So it has been around. We'll be celebrating our 20th year here shortly.
So how does it work?
The funding or the program in general?
The program itself.
We get referrals usually from a magistrate's office for non-payment of fines or a very low-level offender, either a misdemeanor or summary offense. It doesn't handle any felony offenses. The kid comes in, they go through the formal process in the office, and then we have them supervised by a community volunteer, which is set up as a commission. One is in Connellsville, one is in Uniontown. They're on a very low level of supervision for a period of 6 months. During that 6 months, they're required one face-to-face contact with the community officer. However many set up phone contacts the officer would like to see. They complete their community service and whatever special requirements they would have. And then it kind of takes away from having an actual probation officer, keeps them from coming further into the office. It's more of like a diversionary program.
So does the folks from the juvenile probation office, do they work them with the volunteer to like try and figure out what kind of treatment or program is, or what community service?
We have two coordinators, Jerica and myself, and we both kind of work with the community officers, but by the time they get the referral, it's already decided by our office what they will do or complete during that time. The community officers have some leeway in what they ask them to do, whether it's reading certain things, going to certain things, attending certain classes.
Writing an essay, sometimes they have to do that.
So it's very creative.
What would the essays, what would they be on?
It's what the community officer and usually their parents decide. I know one kid right now is doing an essay on bullying.
So I guess the idea being that if they write something, that maybe they'll understand a little bit more what they're doing wrong. What types of community service projects are involved in this?
They're nonprofit organizations.
So maybe going to a food bank or something like that.
A food bank. You'll see a lot of our kids in the summertime taking care of a lot of the historic cemeteries in the county. They go out, they cut all the grass. Yeah, they do all of the community gardens. Anything that the community can see them as being visibly giving back to the area that was a particular, if that's where they committed their crime, or, if we try to make it so that they're actually learning something from the community service, not just out there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we like them to be visible so the community sees that they are
Giving back.
Right. So, and these are kids under 18.
Yes.
Right. So, what kind of things what type of crimes are we talking about here that they would be, you would say they maybe fit in under the program that, maybe they don't have to be more severe?
Crimes right now isn't so much dependent on the crime that they've committed. The state has implemented an assessment for every juvenile that comes into the system. And that assessment basically determines if they are eligible for diversionary program or if they have to go through our office. You'll see a lot of kids, most of the cases right now are coming from unpaid fines from the magistrates for either, criminal mischief or getting into a fight in school, and then the parents or them not paying that citation. We do handle some misdemeanor offenses, which would be, a criminal mischief that has some restitution attached to it. What else?
I don't think you're missing anything.
No, I mean, we never take a felony case on the Youth Commission because that requires so much more involvement. There's more services that are involved in it.
So if it's some kind of violent
Yeah.
crime, that's
Yeah.
not. So what are most of the kids that you kind of deal with? Are they kids that maybe just their home life isn't that great? Maybe they just need some mentoring? Is that kind of?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of, I would say it's a mix of everything. There's not one particular group of, type of child that we have come through. The biggest key of the Youth Commission is it requires parental participation. A lot of our times, if they're involved in the office and they're not on Youth Commission, we have to have contact with the family, but it's not necessary. The parents have to participate in the Youth Commission. They have to be there for the meetings. They have to be there for everything. So it kind of keeps them involved also. So
You find that parents sometimes is this maybe kind of a wake-up call or something, or
what do you think?
Sometimes we have parents, it's difficult to sometimes get the parents to actually participate in the program with the juvenile.
Just because they feel like maybe they have other things to do or something?
Yeah, it's not a priority for them.
Right.
And it's hard to get them to understand that this is an opportunity to prevent their child from coming further into the system.
Right.
And that was the biggest key component, was to prevent that small group of kids who may not need the intensive supervision from getting involved in the office. And, our guys that are on Youth Commission, they are never involved in an activity with a child who is under a more intensive supervision. Mm-hmm. They're always kept separate doing community service or any other comp development activity, victim awareness classes. They are always separate. And sometimes the parents don't realize that this program is actually the best option for your child.
Right. They might feel like, he didn't do anything, come on, let him go or something.
Yeah.
But you realize, and particularly with your being in the field there, that, you need something here. This kid may be, who knows what might happen down the road. So if there's a chance to step in and maybe get a kid before they get more serious or whatever, and maybe to get the parents to realize that, hey, something needs to be done here,
And actually a lot of parents, especially the stuff that comes in from the magistrate's office, the parents look at the commission as an opportunity for that child to learn a lesson that there are consequences without being completely involved in the
Going the
juvenile
other way.
system.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
you know, and a lot of parents feel that why am I paying the citation? They're not learning anything.
Right.
So that's kind of where a lot of our referrals come from.
Well, and I'm sure too for parents, it's a difficult job.
It is.
And a lot of times it's like, you know, the kids don't want to listen. Surprise, surprise. And so this is maybe a way where somebody from the outside can say like, hey, yeah, you better straighten up here.
Yes.
There are going to be consequences.
Yes.
And, you know, you could end up in big time trouble here if you don't straighten up there.
Yeah, and the program's actually been very successful. In the last 3 years, we have less than a 3% recidivism rate.
Wow, that's
which
tremendous.
is tremendous.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody will tell you that it's involved. So basically, it does seem to work.
Yeah, it's a very,
that
very
it's a
good program.
Maybe wake up call for the kids and the parents.
Yes.
Maybe the parents are thinking that, because I'm sure too, a lot of parents probably aren't even aware maybe of what their kids are doing, or you know, they're thinking he's 10 years old whenever he's 13, and you know, they don't realize. And it's difficult in this world. I mean, you know, kids they're probably exposed to a lot more stuff than what, you know, certainly I was when growing up. And
Media plays a large part in that.
Yeah, a lot of temptations out there.
Yes.
And a lot of different ways they can kind of stray off the beaten path there. So you do feel it is a good program. How many kids do you have in the program? I know that probably varies from time
Right
to
now,
time.
we have 15 in the program, and that can go up and down depending on, you know, how quickly the referrals come in or how quickly we can get the assessments done on anything that actually comes from a police department filing. I think we usually stay between 15. We're actually at our highest number this year, and that's because we've had a lot of magistrate stuff and we've had a lot of stuff come in from the school districts. So, but I don't see us going much over 20 at a time, because then it becomes too hard on the volunteers.
So how many volunteers do you have?
We have 15 right now, and we're actually actively recruiting. We'd like to get all 5 commissions up and running again.
The commissions, as I kind of remembered, are based on the school districts.
Yes.
Is that correct? So, so for some school districts, you don't have a commission right now.
We have.
Or you do, but it's.
They are supervised under one of our more active commissions. Like we have some referrals right now from Albert Gallatin, but they're being supervised by our Uniontown and Laurel Highlands commissions, just because we don't have anybody from that area who's active or, you know, has expressed interest to keep that commission up and running. So it's the same thing with Brownsville also.
So, but it does sound like it's a good idea, and it does sound like it is working. So you want to try and keep this thing, try and keep it going. And yeah, it does sound like a good program that probably does save taxpayers.
It does.
A lot of money in the long run. What kind of kids? I mean, do you talk about the assessment? So is there certain kids that, you know, are you looking for maybe kids that maybe aren't violent, if someone is violent or acting out, or is it the history of the kids?
Well, on the assessment that we do, it's called Youth Level of Services, YLS. We ask them about their home life. We call the school and get any disciplinary reports. We get their grades, their attendance. We do it on their peer group, their rec and leisure, how they spend their free time. And if they score low enough on that, then we would refer them for youth commission.
So there's just a number of criteria that you look at.
Yeah.
So, well, it does. It sounds like it's going good. So we're going to take a break right now. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It is so easy to give back.
I don't have a lot of money to help people, but I do have something. I have time.
Get up and do something.
Just imagine how strong a society we could be.
Every one of us has a role to play in making our communities and our country stronger. Discover yours. Help us continue to make a difference in the life of our nation. Go to serve.gov and find the opportunity that works for you. And this message is brought to you by the Corporation for National and Community Service.
Okay, welcome back to this edition of Editor's Notebook. My name is Mark O'Keefe. I'm the editorial page editor for the Herald-Standard. With us today, we have Janine King and we have Donna Moore with the Fayette County Youth Commission, which is run by the Fayette County Juvenile Probation Office, which Janine works for, and Donna is a volunteer with the Youth Commission. I want to thank you both very much for coming on our show today and here to talk about the Youth Commission, which basically, I guess, is kind of a program for kids that may be kind of straying, maybe have done something, but the hope is that they don't really need to, maybe they can be helped before they get into anything more serious. So, and obviously a key to this is volunteers with the Youth Commission. So what does the, I assume, Janine, you probably work pretty closely with the volunteers.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you look for, and what's maybe a red flag that
we look for volunteers of all educational backgrounds, of all professional backgrounds. The only basic criteria we have is they have to be over 21 years of age. They have to be able to obtain a child abuse and a criminal background clearance. And they have to at least give us a 6-month commitment, just because that's the typical length that a child is on with the Youth Commission. We don't preclude people from participating if they have a criminal background. We just scrutinize that a little bit more. We have people from all over the area who are volunteering with us. And we look for a more diverse background just because it makes, for a better commission. Mm-hmm. So.
If you have maybe people that varied backgrounds, because you're probably going to have kids of varied backgrounds, so you're trying maybe to match kids up with people that different things like that. So what do you, when you're talking to people, is there like something that you're kind of looking for though? Is it more somebody
who has an interest in working with kids? Mm-hmm. Because it is truly not something that everybody can do. Mm-hmm. It takes a special person to be able to work with kids, especially kids that have committed crimes and who may not have the best home life or may not have the same social skills that you or I may have. So it definitely is somebody who is able to understand that people don't always have the same morals or thought processes, and somebody who's able to understand that. We get a lot of participation from the local universities, a lot of people who are coming into this field. We use it as a way to get their exposure to say, okay, this is something I want to do, I enjoy doing this, and it seems to work well for them. And then our interns who intern in our office are also participating in the commission, just kind of to get that, the feel of how things work. Mm.
And I think you said, so how many people do you have? How many volunteers do you have?
We have 15 right now.
15 right now. And that's, how many would be ideal?
Ideally, I would like to see between 20 and 25. That would be able to get us all 5 of our commissions up and running, or at least close to all 5 of them. And then it just makes it easier with a larger commission, because with the magistrate stuff that's coming in, we're seeing a lot higher referrals coming from them, so that we don't overburden the volunteers. It's nice to have a larger group to kind of disperse the cases to.
And how much time is involved in being a volunteer?
That's kind of up to the volunteer. And I think, first of all, the volunteer, when you want to get into the Youth Commission, you're motivated at the beginning because it is a volunteer, type position. So. Yeah. But we do have, we have face-to-face meetings once a month, and the youth and the parent comes in, and that's usually 20 minutes, maybe half hour, something like that. And then throughout the month, between the face-to-face meetings, we usually have phone contact. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much, it could be once a week, it could be, twice during that month. It kind of depends on what's going on in the family, maybe. There's maybe a lot of concerns and they need a lot of support. So.
Might be a little bit more,
and then
more time, and then others maybe it might not be as much.
Right, and we do have, every couple months or so, we have trainings that the probation, or meetings with the probation office or trainings that we get information on various topics and subjects.
So how did you get involved in it? You've
Wow.
been involved since the beginning, right?
I've actually been involved since the beginning.
Yeah.
I think just talking to people, and I think I saw it in the newspaper, something like that. So I just had an interest in doing it, and I went to the first meeting, and I'm still here. So.
Well, there must be something that you get some satisfaction. Is it helping maybe kids
absolutely.
that you feel maybe you can make a difference in their lives?
Yeah,
or?
absolutely. Obviously I get a personal satisfaction out of it. I've seen a lot of success. I think it does help them, and it's the way it's set up. It's not punitive. It's not a punishment. The kids come in, and it's very non-judgmental. You don't label them. It's a second chance. It gives them a connectedness to the community. I think a lot of kids don't have a connectedness to the community. It gives us the opportunity to be, as a volunteer, it gives us the opportunity to be a role model, to be something positive in their life, to be supportive. And I think it's a very good program, and it works out.
So do you feel that with these kids, and obviously since you've been doing it for a while, you've been maybe able to see like what kids need to do, or what do you think are some of the maybe problems with some of the kids and the parents and that sort of thing? You think maybe kids just don't realize maybe where they're headed? Or?
I think some of that is. I think some don't really have an awareness of the system itself and what they could be getting into. There's a whole gamut of issues out there that a lot of families have problems within themselves, and it could be a variety of things. And it's just the way that the youth is maybe responding. Some of our youth don't have a lot of supervision. Some do. It just depends.
Have you seen any changes over the years since you first started, or does it seem like it's still the same type of problems?
It's probably, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I would say, my personal opinion, with a lot of the kids we see, there may be some, there's a lot of drug issues involved, maybe in the family, drug and alcohol issues. I don't know. Like I said, it could be, maybe lack of supervision, or, sometimes there is a supervision that it just depends. It depends.
Well, I imagine it's probably, each case is probably somewhat different.
Right.
And that's probably what kind of keeps it interesting in a sense, is that.
And I think one thing too that stands out to me is that some of the, and I'm looking back at some of our cases, that when they come in, some of them really realize that, well, this is a group of people that don't have to be here. They're volunteers, and I think it it really means something to them to see the support that they can get from their community, and by doing the community service also, that's a way for them to, as you discussed previously, to give back to the community, and I think it gives some of them, it gives them a sense of satisfaction, and it gets them to know other members in the community also. And we've had some relationships over the years that I can think of build upon that.
Yeah, because it's kind of one thing to maybe do something, some kind of vandalism thing against people that you don't know, but now you kind of know these people. It makes it a little bit harder, and but that's a good thing, and that's you want kids to feel connected to the community, realize that if you do something that's going to have an impact, someone's going to have to pay money to get that fixed or whatever,
And that is part of one of the requirements as being on the Youth Commission, is that they have to do some victim awareness stuff. They have to go through classes, and they have to write apology letters. so that they do understand that even though it was a minor crime or, a simple crime, which there are really no minor crimes, but that at some point this had an impact on somebody other than them. So, and, we've actually had a couple victims who have actually been members on the commission. And that was their main thing, was to get onto the commission to try to help kids understand that there are, an impact on other people besides just them. So.
It just made me think of, I actually had a few years ago, a youth say to me that they, according to the, the victim part and everything, they went out and did some community service, and I believe they cleaned up a park in their community, picking up garbage and trash and things, and they had never thought about that before, and they told me, they said, I'm not going to, before I just throw something out the window or throw it down, and now it's going to make me think twice because somebody has to clean that up.
Right, yes,
And,
particularly if it's you cleaning it up,
Right.
then you're going to think about that
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more, yeah. What about do you maybe keep in touch with some of these people over the years, or maybe see them at the mall or somewhere or something?
I would imagine. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other members. I think we've had members that that they've had the kids call in and let them know how they're doing and things like that. And well, another thing too, most of the volunteers live in the community also, so you still pretty much have a chance of running into them and things like that.
That does sound like a good program and a good thing. How would, if somebody wants to volunteer to be a member, how would they go about it?
They could contact me at the probation office. The number there is 724-430-1223, extension 414. And we also have a county website that I don't particularly know the address to, but it's Fayette County, Pennsylvania, not the one in West Virginia, because everybody gets the wrong one. And then they're going to want to go under the Common Pleas Court, and underneath of that there's a Juvenile Probation, and then on the side of there's a Youth Commission tab, and they can get access through there. Or they can just look at the number up in the phone book and ask about the commission, and they'll direct them to me or Jerica.
And it is pretty satisfying.
Yeah, and I did want to say too, as far as the volunteer perspective, for anybody that would want to volunteer, you're not just kind of thrown to the wolves and thrown in there. The probation officers work very closely with us, and on every commission there's a person that has been around for a while, a chairperson, and you have access to that person. If you would have some, say you're volunteering and your youth calls you and there's a problem and you're not quite sure what to do, you just call your chairperson, and then that chairperson has access to the probation office. So you're just, you have a lot of...
There's help.
There's help,
You're
yeah.
not
You're
just on your own.
Yeah, the probation office is very helpful, and they explain about mandated reporting and things like that if we would happen to, witness child abuse or anything like that.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap up our show. I want to thank Janine King
Thank you.
from the Fayette County Juvenile Probation Office, and Donna Moore, volunteer with the Fayette County Youth Commission. And I want to thank you for watching. My name is Mark O'Keefe. I'm the editorial page editor for the Herald-Standard, and we'll see you later.